later. What time is it?
Okay, I'm gonna start playing.
Okay, that's start admitting.
Okay.
Smart Business Account for SMEs. Being a business owner is a role that changes constantly. At JMMB Bank, we offer a new type of partnership. We understand and care about the unique needs that come with operating a small or medium-sized business by offering flexibility, partnership, and expert advice to support your successful growth. For you, we've created the JMMB Smart Business Account. The JMMB Smart Business Account is an interest-bearing checking account for registered businesses with an annual revenue of under $450 million, or US dollar equivalent, which gives you the opportunity to maximize the value of every dollar earned. The benefits? No nuisance fees. Never have to deal with monthly service fees, account dormancy fees, and minimum monthly balance requirements. Easy payments. Enjoy free bill payment and free inter- and intra-bank automated clearinghouse ACH transfers within Jamaica. Interest accumulation. Earn interest and grow your company's money over time. Interest is calculated daily and paid monthly. One free manager's check per month. Check leaves available upon request, or ask about our special pay-as-you-go check feature. Speak to a JMMB Bank representative today to see how the JMMB Smart Business Account, along with our Small Business Loan Solutions and SME Resource Center, can support you in growing your business. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at JMMB Group, or visit our website, jm.jmmb.com. JMMB SME Resource Center, a partnership that goes above and beyond. Because you need more than just a bank, we are committed to offering support and guidance to small and medium-sized businesses, or SMEs, every step of the way. The JMMB SME Resource Center ensures that you are prepared to access JMMB's banking, investment, and insurance brokerage services, along with our business planning expertise. The center provides customized advice to take your business to the next level. The JMMB SME Resource Center will help you to identify financial opportunities, develop a professional business plan, structure financial statements, and solve business challenges with the help of our network of business partners. Are you ready to grow your SME with JMMB? Speak to one of our JMMB SME representatives to find out how we can partner with you. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at JMMB Group, or visit our website at jm.jmmb.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another JMMB SME Resource Center workshop. Tonight, we will be discussing how to file your income taxes. I'm Tanis, and I will be your host for tonight. However, before we get into the night's activity, as customary here at JMMB, we will be started off with a word of prayer from my team member, Vincent, and also we'll be sharing a section of our vision of love by my team member, Natalia. Vincent, you can go ahead with prayer.
Okay, thank you, Tanis. Let us pray. Almighty Father, we give you thanks for life, and we thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. We are thankful for tonight's session, and we pray that information we will receive may be useful and beneficial to all. This we pray in the mighty name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. All right. And from the vision of love, love motivates the JMMB team to serve our clients who are a very special part of our family. The driving force of the organization is to provide opportunities for team players to expand their potential, to recognize the power within, and their ability to fully express and manifest this power to the benefit of the individual, the organization, and the society. In the process, all individual and organizational goals are achieved.
Thank you so much, Natalia. So that was a section from JMMB's Vision of Love. For persons who are not familiar with it, the Vision of Love is an internal document that JMMB created, and it speaks to our core values. It's located on our website, www.jmmb, because we want to share it with everybody who is interested. So if you would love to read the document, you please feel free to visit our website and view it. So also thank you so much, Vincent, for that lovely prayer. Since we are here to discuss filing your income tax, I would love to just do a quick check-in to see where in the process are you. The due date is March 15th, which is right around the corner. So where are you guys? Have you started? Will you be filing your income tax yourself? Will you be using the services of an accountant? I would really love to just get a very quick check-in to see where you are currently. So feel free to unmute for a second and share with us. I see Mr. Denton has his hand up. Go ahead and let us know.
Good evening, everyone. It's my first time would be filing tax, so I have no idea about this. So I'll just sit in and just focus on what you guys have to say today.
Okay, great. We have an expert to assist you. I'm sure after this session, you will definitely be on the right path. Anyone else would like to just share where they are in the process?
Yes, I'm Cynthia Reed. I know how to do the SO1 returns, but I am not too, as a matter of fact, I made a mistake once with the SO2 and it got me scared. So I'm here again to refresh myself because somebody else has been doing it, but the person is overloaded. So if I can assist, then I would be grateful.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure our presenter is making note and she'll ensure that you're okay when you leave tonight. Anyone else? We'll just take one more comment quickly.
Hi.
Okay, good night. Good night.
Good night.
My name is Dion Muir. I'm not sure if this program is for me, but I was recommended by Miss Donna McFarlane, my business consultant. I have a business for 3 years now and have been filing, but based on, but I think it's SO4. So that is the self-employed. That's why I said I'm not sure. But I've been filing, but since 2020, I've been filing, but nil, because business has been slowing so bad, so I can't. I don't have funds to file.
Okay, then. Well, we're happy that you're here, and I'm sure that our presenter will be discussing information that you'll find useful, and feel free to reach out to us so that we can assist you to make sure that the performance of your business increases so that next year you will be in a different position. So thank you guys so much for sharing. We have an expert here tonight, and I'm sure that at the end of it, everyone will have a lot of their questions answered. I've also shared in our chat window our email information. So if it is that you'd like to reach out to any member of the team for further assistance after tonight, or if you have any questions for a presenter, please feel free to send us an email. We'll be more than happy to assist you. And in order to ensure that you know who you're speaking to when you reach out to us, we are going to have Vincent, who is our Senior SME Resource Center Officer. He's going to do a quick introduction of the team who is here tonight. So Vincent, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Tanis. I just had a quick presentation of the team members present tonight. And we have Shawnee Duncan Faulkner. She's on. She's the Senior Corporate Manager and the team lead for the SME Resource Center. We also have Tanis Coot, SME Resource Center Officer, and Tanis' primary responsibility is for Ocho Rios and Montego Bay. We also have on in Trinidad, from Trinidad, Natalia Rahamatula, and she is the SME Resource Center Strategy Officer in Trinidad. I am Vincent Ald, Senior SME Resource Center Officer. There are other members of the team, but they are not on tonight. Thank you, Tanis.
Okay, thank you so much, Vincent. So that is also a very small team, but we are here to assist you in helping your business. So now that you know the team, I would just like to quickly introduce you to the SME Resource Center and what it is that we do. The SME Resource Center is actually a regional department. This, as indicated by Vincent's introduction, we operate in Jamaica as well as in Trinidad. And our goal is to help our clients to grow their business. We want to see you transition from being an SME into being a large corporation. And we do this by sharing, we have an ecosystem of tools that you can use. So we have partners as accounting, marketing, business development. We host as the one that you are at tonight. We have business tools that you can access, and we also conduct what we like to call our needs assessment. And that is a in-depth conversation that is designed to identify how JMMB can assist you and whether or not we would be directing you to a solution that is offered by JMMB, or whether or not we would have one of our partners assist you. So that is it. That's what we do at the Resource Center. If you'd like to use any of our services, please feel free to send us an email. We'll be happy to assist you. We also have what we call our SME Resource Directory. And what we do is that we share the information among our SME clients so that you can network and get additional business. So that is for persons who are existing JMMB SME clients. So if you're not an SME client and you want to join us and you want to utilize any of our services, please feel free to let us know and we'll be along the process. So tonight we will be discussing filing your income tax. And filing your income tax is very important because there are benefits that you can gain from this. It's a form of contributing to the social development of our country. It also, as indicated or shown by the recent incident with COVID, that you can qualify for government support when available. And it allows you to be tax compliant and access funding, because whenever you're going to an institution to get funding, they normally want to know that you are tax compliant. And of course, ensuring that you file on time allows you to avoid penalties. The current penalty is 5,000 per month for each month that you have not filed. So we want to make sure that we meet our March 15 deadline. To help take us through tonight's session, we have with us Miss Antoinette Anderson, and she is from the educational unit of the tax administration. She is currently in the capacity of taxpayer education officer, and her responsibility is to inform and educate taxpayers by dissecting and simplifying asset issues. So you know that tonight you're definitely going to be getting expert advice. She holds an Associate of Science degree in Management Information and also a Bachelor in Education in Computer Science. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our expert presenter for tonight, and she will take you through the rest of the session. I'm going to ask that you keep your microphones muted as we go through. Of course, we want to hear from you. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat window. We'll ensure that your question is asked, or you can indicate by raising your hand and we'll let you know when you can go ahead and ask your question. So Ms. Anderson, I hand over the rest of the afternoon to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Let's try this again. All right, you're all able to see my screen, right?
Yes, we are.
All right. So thank you for the opportunity, JMMB. So for the evening, we're gonna go through some of the things that's happening within TAJ. We'll talk shortly on our online services, how to file and pay your taxes online. And we're gonna specifically delve into the direct funds transfer payment option. We'll talk about some of the things that we're doing to help you, the customers, to meet your tax obligations, so March 15. And we're gonna talk about some other important things. Okay, so what's happening, what's new within TAJ? And some persons may already be aware that there is now the option for a TCC auto renewal or the auto approval of TCC. We also are doing, we also have some new payment channels. We're gonna speak tonight directly to the direct funds transfer, but I'll also mention the others that's available. The GCT application enhancement, we'll talk a little bit about that. And the option is now available to pay police record online, the driver's license renewal option to also pay for the driver's license and pick it up, like you drop off the documents and pick up later. And then there is quite the newest thing that's happening now with motor vehicle renewal. So you can actually renew your MVRC, pay for the renewal of the MVRC online and come into office to pick up. What's happening? You can now visit the select offices for Saturday business. There's a queue management system at the St. Andrew Revenue Service Center along with the Falmouth Tax Office. All of the filing that needs to be done must be done online. That's mandatory. And then the driver's license renewal online payment is also available. All right, so to meet the March 15 deadline, and this is where all of your income tax returns become due. So this is where you have to file all the income taxes. So if you're a self-employed person, you must file your SO4 and SO4A by the 15th of March. If you're in a limited company, your ITO2 is required to be filed at the same time as well. And partnership, the ITO3, that's also the requirement. So just to name a few. Now, when we talk about income tax, we've subdivided it into 4 categories. So there's a category for companies, individuals, employers, and pensioners. Pensioners is that part is not so urgent, leading into March 15th, but it's still, we can still mention it. So for companies that are limited companies are required to file their ITO2 and the estimate ITO7. The rate for entities that are regulated would be the 33 1/3 on their net income. And for unregulated, it would be 25%. For individuals, they file on a SO4. I'm repeating this just so you don't become disoriented by the different names of the forms. So the individuals, you're required to file the SO4 and the SO4A. The SO4A is the estimate. And the rate for the income tax for a self-employed person is the 25% after your deductions for the NIS or the superannuations and the threshold. When all of that is removed, there's a 25% rate that is applied. But any income exceeding $6 million is taxed at 30%. Persons who are employers, now your SO1 is what you would do this return on, and I will mention the person who spoke earlier about doing the SO1 and then not having a very positive experience. I hope you learned something from the experience and you were able to correct it. And if you have any questions that I could probably answer tonight, feel free to ask them at the point at which I'll take the questions. But the SO2 though is due on the 31st of March. So it's not so immediate as the 15th, but the 31st of March is when the SO2 is gonna be due. ITO5 is really for persons who are pensioners. So say for instance, you receive a pension that falls below the threshold and it's taxed. The tax that was levied against it can actually be recouped. So we can actually do a refund process by using that ITO5 form. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the rates for self-employed persons. The NIS rate is now 6%. All right, the threshold has also increased from 1.5 to 3 million. So despite the fact that you probably will have gross earnings over $3 million, the threshold for the NIS is capped at 3 million. So we can't calculate the rate against anything in excess of the $3 million. The NHT rate for self-employed persons is 3%, and that goes directly against your gross emoluments. Education tax goes against your statutory income, and the rate is 2.25%. So just to mention what your statutory income is, having removed your NIS or your superannuation from your gross income, what we're left with is your statutory income. That's a term that we use to name that event or that calculation after the deduction is made. And then for the income tax is 25 and 30% based on what I had said earlier. So what else is happening within TAG? Some of the things that you can actually be able to do online, in addition to what I had mentioned earlier, is there are instances where persons are assessed for income tax. I don't know if you're aware, but when we do an assessment, things like your expenses are not factored into an assessment. So you may have an objection. So the assessment, when it's done, it may or may not be in your favor. So you can actually object to it in the event it's not in your favor, and that's done online. You can do that function on our website. You can generate statement of accounts. So instead of calling up a compliance officer to say, I wanted to know what balance I have, or, what is outstanding, all of this is available to you on the portal, and by you generating a statement of account. You can register a TRN branch. So persons who are self-employed, say you're self-employed and you wanted to pay taxes for your staff, you can't set up the payroll account on your individual TRN as is. You have to do what we call a branch registration. So you have to register a branch first. So having registered the branch, then you can go ahead and register for the payroll accounts. So once upon a time, you would be calling somebody at the office, or you'll probably be sending a letter to request that this be done. You don't have to do that anymore. It's all available for you to do them on our website. You can generate a payment advice or the DFTN number. We're going to delve into that a little further. You can track your driver's license status online or schedule an advisory visit. So, from this seminar, you may not gain everything that you probably expected, but what could happen? You could register, you could apply to get an advisory visit. So it's available on the website. You schedule the advisory and we can meet you one-on-one to explain and to give you all the clarity that you need for any of these things that you're having challenges with. You can apply for a tax compliance certificate. So the tax compliance certificate is very popular. People will need it to open bank accounts. People will need it to bid for contracts. People will need it to do all sorts of stuff. So the tax compliance certificate, as the name suggests, you have to be compliant to actually get one. So the process is strictly online. The TAJ website, so you can, submit your documents, attach your documents, and submit them in that process. The unemployment refund is also available for you to do online to apply for an individual income tax exemption. That too is online. So you have some persons who, they are pensioners and their earnings are not at the threshold. So the income tax would not be levied against the pension that they're getting. But if the bank pays you, say, some interest and they withhold the tax from it, they have to withhold the tax. But if it is that you present the bank with a tax exemption certificate, that's the only time they would be not taking the tax. So anything outside of not having that exemption, they will take the tax and pay it over to us. And then you can come and get the refund for it. To apply for a permitted accounting period. So you have some entities that their accounting period may not necessarily be in line with the calendar year that the tax system is based on. So the January to December may not be convenient for everybody's accounting cycle. So in events like these, persons can apply for a permitted accounting period. So to do this, you can also apply for that on our website. Applications for zero rating, you can do that on our website as well. Request for traveling allowances, that's also available. Apply for specified services exemption. Applying for GCT deferment, that's all available for you to do on our website. So I'm not so sure how many persons have used the site to file for themselves. I noticed that persons rely heavily on accountants to do it, but I always say, try and get some of the knowledge for yourself. Being in the system, I've had the experience where persons rely on the accountants, like strictly rely on an accountant. And then if the accountant passes, they are in limbo. So you want to have some amount of control over what happens on your account, how to view, how to access it, how to do, just about anything that you're able to do. While we understand that not many persons, or not everyone, is going to adapt to filing a return or knowing how to file a SO4 or knowing how to file a ITO2. Just some amount of knowledge is always good. So I'm just gonna give you brief snippets of screens. If it is that you need more in-depth information on there, we can always arrange to have some kind of one-on-one or you know, some e-demonstration where you can benefit more. So having to first and foremost, for persons who are not aware, like you totally are oblivious, you need to first have a username to access any kind of service on the TAJ's portal. So the username is simple. You just go to the jamaicatax.gov.jm website, click on the login, and then create the account. Now, to get that far, the most you're going to be able to do is maybe pay for your traffic ticket or pay for other non-log-on services like, you know, paying for betting and gaming. Just, you can make payments basically just by having that username. But in terms of accessing, like filing returns, having the option to correspond with us, that's not going to be available if you're not actually registered for online filing. All right, so what you need to do, you create the account, then go into applying for an e-services account. So having applied for the e-services account, that's now going to give you access to a wider range of services that's on our website. So when you click on manage my e-services, once you have these accounts already set up, your page may look something like what you're looking at now. Now, the tax types that are listed, they are usually listed to the lower part of the screen, right? So if you're going to be, say, for instance, you're going to be filing your income tax, say you're a self-employed person and you're going to be filing your income tax return. Your income tax return is always filed from the income tax link itself. So the income tax link is what you select, right? Having selected the income tax link, the options will be available for the periods, and this is not so clear, but I hope you're getting like a little bit of appreciation for it. But the periods will become obvious to you. So if you're filing a return for 2021, on the screen to the left of it, you'll see the periods listed. So across from the period that you want to file, to the right, the option to file return is there. So you click the file return. I know some persons who are doing it from the first time would go to the hyperlinks that exist on the e-services page, but that's just different hyperlinks. That will take you somewhere else. It won't take you to where you actually have the option to file the actual return. So you'll click on the file return when you get to the period that you want to file, and then follow the process to do that. There is a very helpful tool on the website, which is the How to tab. I'll show you a little of that as well going forward. So once you file a return, you're basically you're entering the information that is applicable for you. So leading up to this, all the things must have been in place. You would have had to keep the records throughout the period. You would have had to separate what are purchases, what are expenses, what your sales and your income are. You would have had to do all of that. So your tallying of your figures and everything would have had to take place prior to getting to here. Because when you're on there, you don't want to be guessing and spelling, right? So you'll follow the process through to completion. That's where you'll submit the return. I'll look at some items on the SO4 later on, so just bear with me. Now, payments. So we've had some payments that you can actually do in-house. You come in-house, you pay by a credit card or you pay cash. But with what's happening with the COVID, we want to keep persons outside of the office, away from all of the rush, in the convenience of your own space. So we have had payment options, more payment options being introduced, the bill pay, the e-banking, and the direct funds transfer, which is what we want to talk a little bit about now. So what is the direct funds transfer? This is you giving your bank instructions to pay money to us in simple terms. How does it work? When you do a direct funds transfer, what needs to happen first? You need to visit the TAJ's website and do what we call the generation of the payment advice, or the direct funds transfer number. So when you go to the Manage My e-Services account and this page comes up, on the list I want to, at the last option, it says generate payment advice. So when you click on this generate payment advice, you get the screen where it gives you the instructions in terms of what the service is about, what you need, and what will happen at the end of it. Having read that, or having sensitized yourself as to what is required, you're then taken to the screen where you're looking at all of the tax types that exist on your account. Some persons will see it differently because all of this has to do with the tax types that are registered to your account, right? So somebody who has an account that says environmental protection levy, you'll see that listed on these. But for someone who is not registered for that, you won't see it on the list. So it's only the tax types that you're registered for that you will see listed when you get to this screen. Now, to generate the advice, on the left side, on the extreme left where it has payment amount, you're going to select the zero that's there. When you select that zero, it basically gives you the option to enter the amount that you want to pay. So having entered the amount, what you will see happening is on the top of the screen where you have the payment total, all that you're adding is going to be accumulating at that section of the screen. So you know exactly how much your bill is while you're adding these amounts. Once you have all the amounts added, you're going to click on the confirm at the bottom, and then you get to review what you just entered. So there are, leading up to this point, you can go back and do a new one to change the information that you entered. So when you get to this page, you'll have to check this box at the left. You'll have to check the radio button before it will allow you to submit, because you have to agree that what you're about to go into is what you want to. So having checked the box, you can now go ahead and submit. Now, to view the actual DFTN, you will have to go to the correspondence tab on your e-services account. So when you go into the correspondence tab, you'll go under the section for letters, and you'll see the pay advice. You're going to see it noted as pay advice. It will look something like this. Now, what you need for your bank when you're giving them the instruction to make this payment to TAJ is this direct funds transfer number. It has DFT on the front of the number. This is very important. And it's very important because when you give the bank the instruction, you should also be giving them the exact amount of money that the bank should release. If it is that you give the amount as a lesser amount than what the DFTN has, the information is not going to be brought to account because there's going to be some anomaly with the information. So you want to be, it has to be exact, right? Now this option can be used by any of the commercial banks. So once you give them the instruction to transfer this money to the TAJ, you also list this in the remarks. So we'll get this information. So we know exactly where to put this money when it comes into us. All right. I'll take the questions later if you have any pertaining to it. Now, some other things that we want to be, we want to make it very, very clear. Persons who are employed and you have other income sources, say you're a director in an organization and you're earning, you know, maybe you're getting a income from being a director, or you're earning from renting space, whether commercial or residential, or you have a taxi, some kind of income being generated from, you know, something in the transportation or even income generating activities online, because that's very popular these days, you are required to file a SO4. Right? You're required to file a SO4 to report all of your income sources. All right. For persons who are engaged in a partnership activity, we recommend that you do your ITO3 return first. Why? When you do the ITO3, if there are any share of benefits to be split among or between partners, that must be first established. Because when you do the SO4, there's a section on the SO4 that asks for income from partnership. So if you don't do the ITO3, how are you going to know what to put there? How can you complete, or how can you successfully complete the SO4 without the information? So you want to do the ITO3 first. Now, for the ITO3, there's no expectation for a payment. But if you fail to file this ITO3 on time, then you know that the penalties and interest will generate. So you want to avoid that by filing that ITO3 on time. Sorry, there's no payment expectation. So you want to avoid the penalties by filing the return on time. And that's filed by the 15th of March, just to remind you. Now, some of the support that we lend to taxpayers at this time, I mean, all year round, as a taxpayer education unit, we do things like advisories, we do e-on-spot. So there are computers set up in our location. So in all the RCs, you can go in. I know that some persons may not have the facility, you may not have access to the internet, or you may not have access to using a computer to do whatever filing you want to for the deadline. You can use ours, right? So that is available for you as well. We do seminars like this one, workshops, and then there is a special taxpayer assistance program. And I want to touch shortly on the special taxpayer assistance program because persons have been using it. However, what we find, or what we've noticed over time, is that I don't know if it is that persons don't take it seriously, but issues like record keeping and issues like keeping your information for your login, you know, secure, and, you know, having it when you need it. We have had issues like persons don't take the responsibility to take these things seriously. No, your record keeping is important, and I'm not going to preach about it, but to file a return fairly, honestly, truthfully, it must be coming from somewhere, not off of the top of your head. So if you do a transaction and the transaction was for $2, you had to spend $2, you earned $2. That must be recorded somewhere so that when you're ready to do your return, you can revisit the information to refresh yourself, because you're not going to remember everything, right? So you'll be writing them down, you'll be building some kind of database or some kind of spreadsheet to keep a track of all of these activities. And I will always say it, how do you know the position of your business if you don't ever keep records? You won't. You know, how can you access bank services if you have no records? You can't do a financial statement. You can't project your income or your cash flow. You can't do any of these things without records. So you'll need to keep the records so you'll know exactly what to put on a return or how to provide professional reporting to the banks or wherever you need to do business. So for the special taxpayer assistance program, we're doing it on an appointment basis. So we don't want to have persons flooding the offices. You must have your login information available. And if you don't already have a login, you must have an email address to be able to create one. Each login requires an email address for the process. We give the assistance for the completion of your return to meet this deadline. And you must organize your records, tally your figures, have everything together before coming to us. because we're just assisting you to put the figures in the form, not to add them up, not to decide what is a purchase or what is an expense. That's not the role that we play. The role we play is to provide you with guidance in completing the return. So for the person who said earlier, you know, I tried the SO1 and I failed miserably. If it were that we were in that setting or on that occasion, we were there to guide you, what we do is to basically take the information that you're giving and tell you where to put the information, so you wouldn't have that issue. All right, so you just be organized, very important, and then we can help the rest. Now, there is this very, very, very tool, it's not exhausted, but it has some very good instructions on there. The how to tab on our website. So sometimes you may not be able to reach somebody directly to take or get the instructions. If this is available, or if whatever you're looking for is on this list, you can use it to guide you. It's on the TAJ's website. It's the how to, and it has a list of things that you can get the screenshots for, and it will take you through the process to doing them. All right, so these are the contact information for the TAJ. I want to bring up the SO4 because I know for some persons you want to have some like a greater appreciation. For some persons, it's just a return filled with a whole heap of information that you have no idea about. But if we can give you like a little bit of, you know, insight into the form itself, you know, we would have been successful today. So I'm gonna lower this and I'm gonna bring up the SO4 form. All right, are we all seeing this?
Yes, we are.
All right. Okay, so this is just a physical form. When you're filing it online, it's gonna be presented to you in parts, right? So the first part of the form, the section A, just asks you for information that you can fetch, like your name, your NISTRN and stuff like that. And the SO4 is for self-employed person, just to reiterate. So you'll plug the information in as they ask you. There's one thing that you're gonna see a little different than what was there last year when you bring up the SO4 form. It will ask you for an account start date and an ending date. Now, this is very important, especially in the case where someone had a permitted accounting period, right? It is also important for our stakeholder like NHT to determine what portion of the year you were gainfully employed, right? So you will be required to enter that information. You'll also be required to enter the trading date, the commencement of your trading. So for persons who were probably trading years ago, umpteen years from 2001 or something, you would be required to put since when you're trading on the form. All right, and then it will ask you for information for persons who are employed to the embassies or high commission. If they don't apply to you, you know you're going to be simply selecting the yes for it. But let's just generally review the form itself. Section B of the form. Section B is quite extensive. And what it seeks to do is to capture all the income sources that may exist. Of course, it's not exhausted because you still have income sources that we're still learning about, some new, especially income generated online, you know, but it's income nevertheless. So the first part of it for income from trade, business, profession, and vocation. So you'd have had to have your information available. If you're involved in trading activities, you'd have outlined what your purchases are. If you kept an inventory, you'd have known what your opening stock is, what your closing stock was, and you'd have entered the information as it gives you on the form. Now, when you're doing it on the website, the information is presented to you in hyperlinks. So though you may have the line items on this side and you have the boxes on the right side, you aren't able to enter stuff into most of these boxes. But to enter the information, you'd have to go from the hyperlink. So you'll click on the words. So like gross receipts, sales, income, you'd have clicked on the word, the physical word itself. It's a hyperlink, and you'd have entered the information. So one of the things that you'll find with this this new 2021 form is that when you select the gross receipt, sales, income, it actually brings up it's like an income statement that comes up. So you'll have your general sales, and then you'll have the trading part of it where it speaks to your opening stock, purchases, closing stock, and stuff like that. And then you'll have the expense part of it. So once you're plugging the information into the right fields, what will happen when you click OK to close this gross receipt sales box, it will populate the fields that you would have entered the information in. So like your expenses would have been filtered into the expense box from you entering in the information for the expenses. The similar thing for cost of goods sold. Those would be populated automatically once you enter those information, right? And then there is the income from rental of property, or before that, the share of partnership income. So the share of partnership income now would have been ascertained from the ITO3 that was done. Remember, we spoke earlier about doing the ITO3 before taking on the SO4. So you'd have gotten the information from the share of partnership, right? Now, the income from rental of property. You're renting space, whether it's commercial or whether it's residential, you'd have had that income. It's an income source. So you'd have kept the information for whatever you received for the rent. And then there would be also the option to report the expenses that you'd have had from the space that you rent. So all of this is captured on this section. Rental income from all employment and offices. So you have some persons who are full-time employed in an organization. Your employer, and employment in this case would suggest that your employer is taking the statutory deductions. So they're removing the NIS, the NHT, the income tax, the education tax, your income, and paying it over on a monthly basis. So that's what would constitute employment, this employment and offices section of the form. You'd have entered the information from your P24, because the P24 will be given to you at the end of the year. So the information captured on your P24 would be entered into this section of the SO4 form. The section, to continue the section, income received from investments and other sources. So investments like the distributions, the dividends, the interest, those information would be captured in this section of the form. Income from sources outside of the island. That's also a part of this. And then there is a non-executive director's fee. Now I want to mention something about this part because I had a conversation just recently with my colleague, and the experience that was shared was that this person who is a director, He's not involved in the day-to-day activities of the business, but he gets a director's fee. He's a director, but he gets the fee, but he's not there in the day doing, the groundwork on a daily basis. He would be categorized as a non-executive director, right? So what it means is that his income would not have been taxed for the different statutories. So he would not be able to report his income in the section above that speaks to salaries, wages, bonus, fees. He would not be reporting his income in that section. He would have to report it in the section that says non-executive director's fee, right? So to put it in the section for salaries, wages, bonus, fee would be misleading, because what that would be suggesting is that your employer took the statutories, when that's not the case. So you want to be reporting the income in its right place. And then for all of the other sources that we don't capture on this form, you can enter them into the other income section. All right, so exemptions. So there is the exemption for pensions. So if you receive a pension, there is a $80,000 exemption that would be added to your normal threshold. If you're at the age, the pensionable age, there is another $80,000 that would also be added. So it's two $80,000 exemption amount that'll be added together to give you a further exemption from income tax on that income. All right, so gross dividends and other preference dividends. The information that is captured here would be important, because if you receive a dividend, the dividend is usually taxed at source. So we're not asking for that to be taxed again. So in this section where it asks for the gross dividends, in the section where it has other exemptions, you would have outlined what the amount was that you actually received in dividends that would have been taxed. So by putting it here, the amount that you receive for dividends would not be further taxed when we get to the section that we're working out the income tax and the education tax. So the capital allowance. Capital allowance is, in the normal sense, referred to as the depreciation. So it's how you write off your asset over time, right? So there's a schedule that you'll prepare for it. So each item has its own lifespan, and it has the rate by which you write it off over that lifespan. There is a good reference point on our website that has the schedule where it lists the different categories of assets, and it lists the years that they are their lifespan, and then the rates that they're written off. You can refer to that brochure on our website under publications. Covenanted donations. So you'll have some arrangements, and this is usually donations that are, there's some kind of arrangement, especially with the University of West Indies or the UTEC, where an organization will say, okay, we'll donate your say for instance, your football program for the next 5 years. And over the 5 years, you're making a commitment to pay a certain amount. Those amounts that you would have been paying would have been reported under the covenanted donation section in this part. Allowable losses. So prior to I'm running through fast because it's vast, and we don't want to be stuck on just halfway. So if there are any questions in between, you can ask me them. Allowable losses. Prior to 2014, persons were carrying their full loss from years before. But that changed with legislation in 2014. So you're only able to now carry the 50% of your loss from the previous year. All right. Now, contribution to approved retirement scheme persons, say, so you're self-employed, you're not necessarily, benefiting directly from any kind of retirement scheme unless you actually go ahead and initiate that process. So having this contribution to an approved retirement scheme, you can report the amounts that you would have paid into the scheme throughout the year in this section of the form, right? And then all right, so we spoke about the losses. So in terms of the computation of the income tax, the rates, you have the 0%, which is basically the amount that would have been given to you as the threshold. Then you have the 25%, which would be anything in excess of the threshold, but not more than $6 million. So that would be the 25%. And then everything in excess of the 6 million is taxed at 30%. 15% is relative to your.
Sorry, since you spoke about it and someone actually just asked, you want to just indicate what the threshold is?
The threshold for 2021 is $1,500,096. $1,500,000. Sandis, if you're able to see me highlight it. $1,500,096. Can you see it?
Yes.
I'm highlighting.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Right. So, and then what would be the 15% is the tax on dividends. All right. So for the non-refundable tax credit, this section of the form. So there are persons who have employees, and I know persons are, some persons may be wary of having employees where you're deducting for them and stuff like that, but the employment tax credit is one of those incentives that we hope that employers will, actually take it serious, because having filed all of your SO1s on time and made all of the payments on time, you can actually benefit from the tax credit once those returns are filed up to date. So it is based on the number of returns that you would have filed on time during the year. All right. And then the information for contractors levy, you'll have some instances where persons are contractors, they suffer contractors levy. So having done some jobs and the person who paid you withheld the 2% for contractors levy, they would have given you a certificate where you can actually upload at this point to say that, okay, I had suffered some tax upfront from paying the contractor's levy through the person who gave the job. So you'd be able to report those. You'd be able to report those certificates in the section for this. All right, so specified tax withheld on specified services is similar to the contractor's levy. So whatever jobs you'd have done as a specified service, they would have withheld 3% of it and would have paid it over to TAJ and given you a certificate. So you'd have reported that income, tax withheld on that income, specified services. All right, so the computation of the education tax. So you'd have entered all of the information for all of the income sources, information relating to the refundable and non-refundable tax credits, your losses, and all of these leading up to this point. So having done the income tax calculations for the education tax, for persons who would have been employed, So you'd have entered the information from your P24. When you get to this part of the form, you'd have reported what your employer paid for you where education tax is concerned. And this is important when you're employed and it's being paid, that you enter this information, because what it would mean is that the amount is going to be seen as you know, paying more for education tax. So if you don't report what was actually taken already, it will appear as though you have a high education tax balance. All right, so the section I is where all of it comes together. So the contributions that are payable would be listed on this under the column A. If you had made payments on anything throughout the year, it would be listed in column B, and then whatever was paid would offset what the payable amount is and give you a balance in column C. All right. Basically, that's the SO4 form. The schedules that are attached to it, it's how it works on the website. You basically be answering yes, no answers, yes, no answers. So whatever you answer, it basically will work itself out on the schedule. So you need to just answer the schedules, the yes, no questions appropriately, and it will calculate the taxes for the schedule A and B. All right. So that's the SO4 in a nutshell. I know you will have questions. I will take the questions. I have with me my manager, Mrs. Coley Wilson, in the session, along with my colleague, Mrs. Shawnette Taylor McNaughton. So we can take the questions. Whatever I'm not able to help with, maybe my colleague can help, and if we're not, then we can get the information and get back to you on there. So I'm taking questions now.
Ms. Wright has had her hand up for a very long time, so I'm going to start with her. So Ms. Wright, you can go ahead. No?
Change their mind.
Apparently. All right, so Mr. Stewart.
Hold on. You said right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't. I heard what, sorry. Okay, my question is, I just wanted you to expand a little bit more on the contractors levy and the specified services with regards to the tax withheld section that you were speaking about.
All right, so for contractors levy is 2%, right? 2%, right?
Yes.
So the person who would have hired you would have withheld the 2% from you. If it is that your earnings, so from the contracts you receive, remember that's only 2% for income tax. That's not yet seeing income from that's not yet seeing the taxes for NHT and NIS and education tax, right? And it's not yet seeing the full amount if it is that you were earning over the threshold. So say for instance, you had earned an amount in contractors levy that went, say it was $2 million. $2 million worth of contract and they took 2% of it. Remember that the threshold, when it goes against it, 25% is what is calculated against the difference. So if it is that your contractor's levy was 2%, when we remove the threshold, if the 2% is in excess of what the amount would be if you had multiplied the 25% against the amount over the 1.5, then you know you'd have if it is in excess, you would have had to pay. So let me break this down. The contractor's levy is $2 million that you earned from it. 2% of 2 million. Help me with the maths. 2% of $2 million. If that amount is more than what you would have paid when we applied the threshold, then you could look to recover the excess. Not necessarily recover it is as in getting back, but the amount would be applied on there as a credit. So it would lessen your income tax liability. I hope I'm clear. It will lessen your income tax liability in that sense. If it is that the amount that you earned from the contractor levy was below the threshold, then it would act as a credit on your account for income tax. So it may not come back to you, but it will reduce your income tax obligation in that period. Similar concept for the specified services. The exception though with the specified services is that one can actually be refunded to you. Are we there?
That's right.
Yes, I'm here. I just realized that I didn't give it to me. So the specified service, that one you said would be refunded in credit as well as the contractors levy, or would that one be?
The contractors levy is a non-refundable one.
Okay, got you. All right. And then the specified services, that is a refundable one.
Yeah. So while the contractors levy can offset the income tax, if there's no income tax offset for the specified service, that one can be refunded. We there?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Just making a note of it. All right. Thank you. So far, but okay. Someone said they had a concern. I don't know if it's from this.
Okay. I'm listening.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Stacy. All right, so it's more like a question. So it's regarding to the fact that I am employed to a company and I also have a small business. But as for the P2 forms, last time I asked for mine, I did not get it. It wasn't ready. But on our pay slips, like they normally tally up the tax that they take for the year or the period. Can I add the amount from there even if I don't have the P2 for forms?
I guess the December payslip, your last December payslip will have the year-to-date. In most cases, they have the year-to-date figures for all of the income and all of the deductions that were made throughout the year.
Okay.
So that could serve as a good report source document as well.
All right. So my question is, I switched jobs in September, so I could go back to my last pay slip from the company that I was from January up to August, right? And get those and then from September to December, and then put them together as the figures for the P2 since I don't think I'll be getting any P2 from none of those companies.
So you changed jobs when September, you said?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you'd have one that have the year-to-date on the up to August.
Yeah, from the old company.
Okay, well, that if it's what you have and it's the actual income and the deductions, then you can maintain those, keep those on your records to justify what you're putting on the return.
All right, thank you.
In the absence of the P24, because I know there are some instances where persons struggle to get the P24.
A lot.
I know that there's anything that that's gonna be you're gonna be implicated for where that is concerned.
All right.
I don't think so.
We're not getting them. So, honestly, I don't know why the companies
Hello.
No, I give it them. All right, I'm gonna mute now. Thanks.
Yeah, man.
Mr. Stewart would be up next. Mr. Stewart, please have a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Go
are.
ahead, yes.
All right, here's the question. I I have a client who is in the cash pot business, but the cashier them frequently change. Who is responsible for paying the taxes, them or him? Or in other words, how we treat them as a contract employee, which they will be responsible for the tax, or treat them as an employee since they change so often.
I don't know that I'd be able to answer that because the arrangement would then be between you and the employee or your client and the employee. If he chooses to do them as like an employment of service, which is like employer taking the contributions, then that's his decision. If he chooses to do them as employment for service, then that's also his decision. So it all forms a part of the arrangement that he has with the employee.
So if he treats it as a contract, if the TAJ plan to audit and say, okay, we weren't taking taxes, then he wouldn't be penalized.
I would have to do a research where that is concerned because I don't know that we have that kind of penal thing, like where
Yes,
persons are
because I
implicated.
asked the Ministry of Labor and then tell me say I should talk to the tax office.
Let me do the
everyone.
research and get back to you. But as the most I'm able to say it's down to the conversation that they have with the employee. But I'll confirm if there is some kind of implication for employers,
Yeah, because the liability side I'm worried about. If I advise him to say, okay, then treat them as a 3-month contract or 6-month contract since they revolve so often.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he does that now, I don't want the TAJ come in and say, whoops, they should have taxed this and you're responsible. I don't want that to happen.
All right, I'll do the research. I think that more has to do with the labor laws, but I'll see if I can find out and let you know.
Right. I check with the labor law. I check with the Ministry of Labor and then I must talk to the tax office. I just let you know that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. All right then. So that's it for me.
Yeah, you can. If you wish, you can always send me the email and I'll probably give me a phone number, and then if I find out, I can call you.
All right then. I will.
Thanks.
So I'm going to take one question from the chat. Right. So if an individual is over 65, they would not pay education tax on their salary. If they have an additional income, let's say from a partnership, are they liable to pay education tax on the additional income?
Yes, they are. It's only for the employment income that the education tax is not calculated.
Okay. And Ms. Spencer wanted you to elaborate on the employment tax credit in terms of how it's calculated.
All right. So if any of my colleague wants to jump in on this. Calculation for the employment tax credit.
Good evening, everyone. I tried to speak earlier. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Mrs. Wilson.
Right. So with the employment tax credit, it's up to I think a maximum of 30%. You can claim a credit up to a maximum of 30% of your payroll. Not remembering everything out of my head just now, but we have a publication on it if she wants to go ahead and read. From our website, on the publications, there's a publication on the employment tax credit that should prove helpful. But it's up to, I think, up to a maximum 30% of the payroll. And there are some other criteria that are to be fulfilled in order for you to get or claim that credit for the employment tax credit. Well, we can have this discussion later on, or as I said, I'll pointed you out to all the brochure on it. If you need further clarity, you can contact us afterwards.
I'll get the information and send it to your resource center so you can send it to the person.
And then with the gentleman earlier, I was trying to jump in to say that we have different criteria for contracts. So you have, as you were alluding to earlier, Antoinette, you have contracts for service and contract of service. If it is in the contract of service, this will speak to an employee-employer relationship. So for argument's sake, if the person has to fulfill certain criteria, hours of work, if they use the tools of the employer, if they're under this direct supervision and control of the employer, and among others, if they fulfill that, then it's of service. So then they're considered an employee. So he's required then to deduct and pay over the taxes, or do a relationship where you have employee-employer, where he contributes, they contribute, and you file and pay as an employee, as an employer for an employee. But if they're not satisfying that, then by all means, you can have them as contractees, where they are required to file and pay their own taxes. I hope that answers it. And then, as you said, the information can be provided later on. Further information on that can be provided.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Wilson. I'm going to ask Daniel Taylor to go next.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My question is, I have been self-employed since 2019, and I started a sole proprietor business. Now, I've closed that since last year and upgraded it to a company. I haven't made any money under the limited liability version of the company, so I'd like to close it. What I want to confirm is, am I required to open an account with TAJ under the limited liability company and state that I have not made anything and provide information that I've closed it?
All right, so let me see if I got what you said. You opened a limited liability company. You've not done any business since you opened it.
Yes, that's
but now
correct.
you want to close it.
Yeah.
You want to know if you're supposed to open the e-registration with TAJ and what? Request that it be closed? Is that what you're asking?
No, I know how to close it through Companies Office of Jamaica. What I'm asking is, will there be any liability against me if I don't provide any information that the company hasn't made any money?
All right, so how long now you said the company was open?
It's been open since September of 2021.
September last year?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, so you want to close it?
Yep.
All right, so you haven't even tried.
No, I have. The reason is that I'll be traveling soon, and I already work as a self-employed person, and I make my money that way, and I do the SO4A and SO4 yearly. So it doesn't really make sense for me to keep the limited liability up and running at this moment.
All right, so you would have gotten a receipt from a closure receipt from the company's office, right? You can take that, you put in writing, so you're gonna be leaving, you won't be here to operate the business.
Mm-hmm.
You put in writing what you're, express in writing what you're currently experiencing and why you want to close it, and effective when you want to close it. Okay. So there would have been 3 months last year, you said there was no operation.
Yes, that's correct.
Really and truly, you would have had to report whatever happened or did not happen. You would need to report it on the ITO2 for this year. Okay. The ITO2 by March 15th. And then upon submitting that, you can also submit the letter to say that you're no longer operating and you want to have it closed, and you've attached that letter with the closure receipt from company's office. So the compliance officer will then make will start the process to closing the business itself in our systems.
A follow-up question is, because it's a limited liability company, I do get a different TRN, a different company number and all of that. I need to then form an account with that information separate and apart from my self-employed account.
Right, because it's a separate entity from you.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah, once it has a different TRN, it's a separate entity, so it would need its own username, its own
Okay.
access. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, so Nicholas Francis can go next.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Francis.
Yeah, good night. What I want to ask is for the limited liability for the shareholders and directors and the company when filing. It would be we would not be earning for the financial year, so we will be filing a nil. In other words, two of the directors, two of the shareholders, so it's three shareholders, two of which is a serve as director, but we have not been earning. And so I want to know what are the filing for the shareholder and the two directors and the company.
So you've not been earning from the business, but you have other income sources. Is that?
Right. Yeah.
All right, so the other income sources that you have, you still need to report them. And if it is that any of those income sources fall under employment, then you'd basically be entering the information for the employment and offices for the SO4. It's not that you're going to be taxed again. Once you enter these information correctly, it's not that you're going to be taxed against it. But any other income that was not taxed at source, when you do the SO4, the tax will be calculated or computed against it. So it's not just a nil return that you'll do in this case. You know, so if there are any other income sources, you'll still need to report it, even though you're not earning from the limited business that you're directors in. Clear enough, Mr.
What I want to know, the different forms that you use. So for the company is the TIO3.
All right, so for the limited company is the ITO2. If it's a partnership, it's ITO3, right? Along with the ITO2, there is the estimated income tax return, which is done on the ITO7. So those ITO2 and ITO7 will go hand in hand when you're filing for the March 15 deadline. The ITO3 stands alone because there's no estimate to file for a partnership. The estimate is usually filed based on the SO4 from each partner. Am I?
Okay, so what I get from you is for the company is the ITO2 and the ITO7 should be filed for the company.
Right,
In order
limited company.
For the limited, for the directors now, is the SO4 and the SO4A?
Yes, sir.
And so do you file for the shareholder?
So the shareholder would be, if the shareholder is a similar concept. So if the shareholder is receiving income from different places, he's a director here, he's a shareholder there, he is employed here, you know, he receives a income from online business, he still reports all of the income sources as long as they were not taxed at source and it's not strictly employment.
Regards to the shareholder, one of the shareholders, they're not living in Jamaica. So, but their credential when registering the business is used, but they're not living in Jamaica. They're overseas, they're not been earning, they're not been collecting anything regards from Jamaica wise. So but they're just a shareholder.
Okay, but I'm assuming they would have been reporting their taxes in their country, right?
Yeah, they would have to file their tax overseas.
All right, so I would have to have a conversation maybe with a technical specialist to kind of clarify this, because if he's not receiving any income, then he's not receiving any income here. But in terms of, I don't know that we can go, if he's taxed already somewhere else, I would have to confirm how we treat with this situation where he doesn't live here, as residency will have a lot as well to do with it. He doesn't live here, neither since he bought shares, he has probably not earned on them yet. So let me get the information and then I can communicate with you how to treat with it. You'd probably have to give me some more information so we can speak to the unique situation that you have.
So what I can do, Ms. Anderson, is I can support by providing him with your contact information, your email, and vice versa. If that's okay.
Yeah, you can send me an email. Send me an email and outline the information in it, and then I'll ask our technical specialist to advise me as to how to advise you.
Okay, will do. I am going to, we have about 5 more questions. We're almost at 8 o'clock, which is when the meeting is scheduled to finish. I'm just gonna ask if everyone is okay for us to just go a few more minutes, just so that we can get a couple of the questions answered. Is everybody okay with us going later than 8? Can just respond in the, okay.
I am okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so Lisa is next. Your hand is raised. You can go ahead.
Hi, good night, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, good night.
Hi, all right. So I also have a unique situation here. I've been trying to be compliant with my tax filing. So I've been working with different accountants because after doing my own investigation of the work they've done, I see some errors that they made, right? So I switch accountants very often. But what I realize is each accountant have a different kind of filing style, and I'm wondering which one is correct. All right, so you have one that does the calculation of the gross income, meaning she calculates everything and then takes away all the expense and then just put that in the income section of the THA filing area, right? I'm guessing for context, it is a it's a sole proprietor company, so we would be filing the SO4. Yeah, so that's the area that she puts in the income, and she just puts the total cost minus the expense, and then in the area that should show the breakdown of the expense, she puts 0, right? So that's accountant number 1. And then the second accountant, because it's also a partnership, we also do the ITO3. That accountant, she splits everything down the middle for the SO4. She cuts them in the middle and then puts the total in the ITO3. So she does it different than the first one. Then the last one, she records our secondary sources of income. I'm guessing at the time we kind of made more on our side hustles. So she used that as our main source of income. And then whatever was made from the partnership, she add that in the slot that says share of partnership income. So I'm kind of confused. I'm wondering which one did it correctly, or is all 3 fine?
I'm sorry, listening to you, I'm kind of confused too.
So sorry.
Do you want me to do the same?
No, but
can I interject? Can I interject? All right. So based on the data that I heard,
yes,
it sounded like accountant 3 is getting it correct.
Oh, so the one
you have different sources of income. You have your, as you call it, your side hustles, which is that is basically your business income. So the form is designed to capture both your your
Primary
income, your
and
business
secondary.
income, less your expenses, profits, right? And it also has an allocation or the slot for your partnership income. Now the IT03 would have would feed into your SO4, right? So after all, from that partnership now, after they have declared the income, or he or she have declared the income from that source, and accounted for the expenses that you'd have earned, you'd have had from that business, and then the profit, and then based on your how you have decided to share your partnership profit or loss, then that feeds into the SO4. So you have different sections for your different sources of income, and it's all reported on your SO4.
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yes, that's very clear.
And I want to, can I just add one thing as well? There is a reason that we have this kind of facility on the website, because we'd love that you break out the information. So instead of providing one total, which is a net, which is your, I'm guessing is a net amount.
Yes.
You said the person just took the expenses from the income and just put one figure on there, never accounting for the expenses separately.
Well, she just uploaded the supporting documents. That's what
so she uploaded the supporting documents.
Yes, so that's why
you want to put the information in the correct fields though, because that's why it's provided. You know, so you'll be entering the information based on the actual activities where they are required on the form itself.
Okay,
right.
So just a slight variation. In case, let's say I'm making more in my business now than the side hustles, how would I work that out? Do I still put my side hustle as the main income and then the partnership share as the share of income?
All right, so let me understand something.
Yeah.
You have a partnership set up separate and apart from your sole proprietorship?
Yes. So yes, I forgot to mention that as well. So yes, for me personally, I have a partnership. You know, I work with someone and I have side hustles. So for the partnership in particular, she had just put the details for all of us in the IT03, and then for the SO4s, she would just put the side hustles as the the net income, and then the share from the income would be there. So I'm wondering if I would use the same method now that I'm making more on the business side than the side hustles.
All right, so Lisa, let me see if I can bring some amount of clarity to it.
Yeah.
Your self-employment, you as an individual. Whatever you do, whether you have 10 side hustles as you put them,
yes,
or you have only 2 side hustles, they form a part of you, the entity. That's you having, multiple income stream as a sole proprietor. You are this entity. Whether you're doing 10 things or you're doing 2 things, it's you, the entity, right? So when you're reporting, you're putting everybody together and reporting it. You're finding the expenses from the different hosts and you're putting everything together, right? On the partnership side of it though, if the activities that you do under the partnership is separate from the ones that you do as a sole proprietor, then the income and the expenses generated in that partnership would be treated separately on the ITO3 return. You understand? So having done all of that activity, if you yielded a profit or a loss, it's carried then onto your SO4 to go added to those side hustles that you'd have had in your self-employment ventures.
Okay, yeah, man. I'm just wondering where exactly I would place those incomes on the form.
1 second, if I might interject. We are in the interest of time. If you don't mind, could I have exchange contact information, and then you could have one-on-one conversation because we really are running a
Yeah.
little bit late and I want to respect everybody's time. So I'm going to take one final question, and then what I'll ask everyone to do, or I'll make notes of the persons who have their hands up. So if you want to have a question, just either type it in the chat or raise your hand so that I can know to contact you to get your question, to pass it on to Ms. Anderson so that she can provide us with a response. So I am going to go with Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell has had his hand up for a while.
Okay.
Yes, my question is maybe a little similar. The ITO4, let's say that it's a partnership of two individuals, and let's say that they made a profit of $1 million. When you go to the SO4 now, and you decide to divide it 50-50, would that mean that the income of each partner is 500,000? Would that be the income of each partner?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
All right, so you said each partner earned $1 million?
No, I'm saying when the partnership had a profit shown on the ITO3 as $1 million, and then you transfer the information now to the SO4, and the share of the profit is 50-50. So I'm asking if the income of each partner would be 500,000, half the million.
So once it's 50-50, when you're replicating the information on the SO4 on the share of partnership,
yes,
the $500,000 would go under each partner's SO4.
So whatever
income from the partnership.
Right. So whatever okay, right. So let me ask this now. If during the year, the partners were taking like income from the business, how is that accounted for? If they were taking like pay each week from the partnership, is that not reflected as an income also?
But yes, it would be an income. How do you reflect it? How do you reflect drawings in your bookkeeping, you know?
Right.
Because if it is that they were getting if they got that income from the business, it's still an income, they still have to report it.
Okay, so they would have to have a drawings arrangement set up.
Right, so you record the drawings and how you report it, you still have to account for it as a source of income throughout the year.
Or might I interject? Sorry.
Yes.
Or if it's as a partnership, you can also a partner can also be employed to the business. So you'd have that arrangement set up where the person is paid a salary from the business, as well, that partner. So you can have that formal arrangement set up where that you agree that this partner then will be paid a salary from the business, and you will be reporting that on the monthly S01 and SO2 at the end of the year. And then at the end of the year, that partner will also get the P24. That's when they are reporting their own self-employment. Then they would speak to what was deducted or the deductions that would have been taken from them, and what was paid over to us already from their income.
Okay.
Got that, sir?
Okay. Yes, I think I get that. Because usually what we seem to depend upon only is the SO4 and what and the income that shows, and disregard any kind of drawings that might have been taken out.
No, but you see, that has a lot to do with how you keep the records, you know. Because if there is the understanding that they will take 100,000 every year, every month, at the end of the year, you'd have added all of those 100,000, and it would have gone it would have gone to their amount of income received. Now, how you deal with drawings when you're doing your profit and loss, or you're doing how you do it in terms of your record keeping is going to have a lot to do with capturing the information when you're doing the return itself, because that would be money leaving the business to go into a director's pocket.
Okay, I understand.
So if you put them on a payroll or add up everything at the end of the year, and so this was a part of your income, and your report and so forth.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so that was our last question. Of course, as I said before, if you have a question, please do put it in our chat window. We will ensure that you get a feedback. I'll send it to Ms. Anderson and send you the response, or you can also email us at our email address, so that's SMEresourcecenter@jmmb.com, and we will also pass on the information to Ms. Anderson. So thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. We really do hope that you got some very beneficial information, and these workshops are workshops that we do every month. We have both open and closed workshops. Our closed workshops are just for our JMMB SME Resource Center clients. So if you're interested in becoming a client, please reach out to us. We'd love to assist you to join the JMMB Resource Center family. And we also have some that are open, such as tonight, that even non-clients can attend. But to get the full scope of the Resource Center, we'd love if you would join the center, and we're happy to assist you. So that is it for tonight. We look forward to seeing you at our next event, and I hope that everyone is able to meet their tax obligation on the 15th of March. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Ms. Anderson. It was a lovely presentation, Ms. Anderson and her team.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Smart Business Account for SMEs. Being a business owner is a role that changes constantly. At JMMB Bank, we offer a new type of partnership. We understand and care about the unique needs that come with operating a small or medium-sized business by offering flexibility, partnership, and expert advice to support your successful growth. For you, we've created the JMMB Smart Business Account. The JMMB Smart Business Account is an interest-bearing checking account for registered businesses with an annual revenue of under $450 million, or US dollar equivalent, which gives you the opportunity to maximize the value of every dollar earned. The benefits? No nuisance fees. Never have to deal with monthly service fees, account dormancy fees, and minimum monthly balance requirements. Easy payments. Enjoy free bill payment and free inter- and intra-bank automated clearinghouse ACH transfers within